And actually, before she was managing editor this semester, last semester she was...
I was editor-in-chief last semester. I did fiction editor before that as a staff member. So I've been a long-standing transfer person. Happy to work with Nana. So thanks to her for inviting me to this special occasion. I was told I have 10 minutes. Is that right? Okay.
Actually,
so I'm
15.
I don't know if I can fill.
Well, then fill 10.
Okay, somewhere between 10 and 30 seconds. So I have an assortment of things, poetry and fiction. So I'm going to start with a poem, and it's called Dissonance. We are talking about dissonance, and yet we are running out of words to say love. Words to say I need you here, words to say family, to express fear, to ask politely if I can touch your leg when you look sad. We are running out of words to say I'm late, words for all the shapes and colors I feel on the way to your house. Words for how are you feeling, how was your day? Words for I'm crying, don't come over. Words for I'm scared, this is harder than I expected. Words for the lights are green, but everything is happening so slowly. This is a judgment of my character, if nothing else. And the next one is called number 2. There's number 1, and I'm not going to write it. So, the window is where I least expected you to put it, nowhere near my heart, where it is best to reach something vital. Instead, it is closest to my pitcher of coffee, where my words bridge gaps between the stuff of indoors and the open of light and sun. And the next one is, I'm going to read a couple of scenes from a short story. And, yeah. So the story is called The Rogue and His Mistress. At dawn, July rolled over in bed, the blue of her eyes working themselves awake, curls splayed across the pillow. The last thing I want is to be loved, he thought, her eyes locking with his. But July made love to him, and as she did, on the inner sides of his eyelids, he saw red hearts pumping, psychedelic shapes and colors, a reeling of all the human interactions he had encountered with strangers in line at the subway station, the man who sold him coffee, the dog he nearly tripped over on the way in, and he started to feel shame. That morning they ate cereal, and a bit of sun came through the window of the kitchen. He asked July what she saw. I see the moon, and E.T. flying over it, she laughed. He didn't know if he wanted to laugh with her, but he did. And for weeks following, they would be out somewhere, and she would remember things. At the grocery store, I see mirrors, like a fun house. In line at the bank, I see stacked boxes. I see board games, Monopoly, while they walked to the subway station. After that, he became conscious of what he thought about while he and July had sex. At first, he noticed the smoothness of her skin and the pressure of her body. But then, like a roller coaster, his mind would coast through all these images, one after the other, and they would swing in and out of view, passing in all directions. A piano, a toaster, an electrical plug, a chest of drawers, a pair of boots kicking up snow, feet buried in seashells, feet buried in sand, feet buried in warm water, feet buried in little bits of pasta. It was very, very odd. And for a long time, he didn't want to make love to July. What does love look like? I don't know, he wrote. I've never known. On the second floor of the library, he heard 20 people shuffling their feet. It was a book talk for a self-help novel about keeping your love alive after midlife crisis. At a desk on the first floor, his notebook lay open. He was alone, and he slouched in a stiff wooden chair, the back of his neck resting against the top back of it. He looked up at the spiraling staircase and saw only the little metal feet of the folding chairs the older couple sat on. He listened. How do you materialize love? The women snickered, the men grunted. Words and actions, he wrote, right? Wait, he erased. July had left shortly before he did to go to a gallery opening. Her hair had been curled back, away from her face, her lips a bright red. She was wearing a little white dress and a long black coat that swung into a skirt. She looked like a 50s dancer in heels, like she was going to break out into dance on the way to the subway station. Had he even kissed her on the way out the door? He couldn't remember. So, in day-to-day life, what does love become? Stagnant, a woman's voice called out, echoing around the spiral of the library. Distant, said another. Physical, another voice. And how do we fix that? We don't, said a man, laughing. They haven't even read the damn book, he thought. How do you love an artist? He pressed his hands into the desk and then wrote, like a time of day. At the moment, it is love, but it passes. It always does. He had come back upstairs well after midnight, not to sleep but to sit at his desk. Not writing, he had been studying the winter blue-green of the kitchen walls, the slight bumps and ridges of the stucco. Twice he got up to touch it, draw his fingers across it, and then sat back down, the chair pushing backwards just a bit. July was fast asleep, metallic blue rain falling from the sky of some dream, he thought. Gripping his pencil and paper, he pressed open the bedroom door. Sitting in a chair in the corner, he pulled his legs up and rested the paper on his knees and wrote. He wrote into the tangles of white sheets and then back out. He wrote himself to the foot of the bed, where the sheets tucked tight beneath the mattress. He wrote himself beside her, cotton against thighs. He wrote his body aligned with hers, his lips against her ribcage while she slept. He wrote himself small, leaned against the corner of the room, shoulders against walls, fingers downward across a white pillow, feet tangled in a maze of white, sheets rippling like waves or carved layers of icing on a cake. He folded the papers in his lap again and again until they were small, and slipped them under the mattress. July did not shake, and he pressed his temples and left the room. That went by faster than I thought. I only have one more thing to read.
Read it.
I'm going to read it. If I can find it. Oh, here it is. So, it's called Poetics. Eventual eminent realizations. This is a poem, by the way. I'll read it one more time. Poetics. Eventual eminent realizations, full and round and holy, everything that it takes to be human and fantastic. What we don't want is to turn the corner and it be autumn. Frank, oh Frank, there must be some complexity before all that. Old age, tenderness, sentimentality, fate.